Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Land Down Under Hangout. Tonight, we're actually not doing a book this time. It's something new and different. We're doing a TV show based on a book. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Bridgerton, or at least the first season of. Have we all finished the first season of Bridgerton?
Yep. Hell yes. And may have rewatched a few episodes.
Ooh, I know which one.
I wonder.
I've completely watched it. I've also started listening to the podcast that Felicia Day and Tom Link are doing about Bridgerton. So that's actually been very enlightening. So we'll start off with just general thoughts of what we thought about the season, like we do with all of our books. I'm going to go first because I want to. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I liked the arch of, most of the characters. I didn't see too far in advance that it was definitely going to be who Lady Whistledown was. Like, they did a pretty good job of keeping that hidden at least until like episode 4 or 5. Like, it wasn't like episode 2 where I was like, well, that's definitely Lady Whistledown. Like, so I appreciated that. And yeah, I like Daphne. I like that she's the lady that she is because of the time, but she's also herself. Like, she has a mind of her own while she's still being the lady that society wants her to be.
She punched a dude.
She did punch a dude. Punched him right in the face. Although they kept referring to it as a hook, and it was more of a jab. But yeah, that's what I thought. Rita, would you like to go next?
Can I go in a second, please?
Okay. Sarah.
Oh, me. Hello. I had a good time, and that's what I'm looking for from my entertainment 2020, 2021. I want escapism, and that's too many isms, but you know what I mean. And I had a good time, and I was hooked, and I binged it like a couple of episodes every night, and thought about it a lot when I wasn't watching it, and it was such a visual treat for the eyes. The costumes are amazing. The sets that they did. I love Nicole Coughlan. I can't say her last name, but I loved her in Dairy Girls, and I always loved to see she played Pen, and it was great to see her again. Let's just say that Reggae, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's easy on the eye. Let's just say.
Is that Simon? Is that who you're referring to?
Yeah, the actor that plays Simon, yeah.
Yes, I did not mind seeing him shirtless continuously.
Many times. And even just the 5 o'clock shadow and the collars, I'm like, yeah, I'm here for that. And I enjoyed it. And I loved the Queen. She made me laugh. And I had a good time. And that's what I'm looking for. And they've just announced season 2. They're going to film that in spring. We'll see. UK, you've got a pandemic to get under control first. And I've never, just to be clear, I've never read the books. So in some ways I quite liked just going, oh, this is really fun. So I'll throw it over to.
Like to try and read the books, but I think I want to watch each season first and enjoy them for what they are, and then read the book that corresponds.
I'm with you. I'm not someone who likes to be like, oh, I need to know what happens. I want to read ahead. I'm not like that. I'm enjoying.
I think that the book will be enjoyable because I really enjoyed the series. So I'm hoping that the book will be of the same vein.
Yeah. Okay, I'm throwing it over to Elizabeth.
I had complicated feelings about the series. In some respects, I enjoyed it, but in other respects, I wanted to enjoy it a lot more than I did. I mean, there were times where I liked Daphne, but she was definitely problematic in a big way.
They all are. Every single character in this show has problems. Very problematic.
Yeah, but her in particular. But that said, there were some nice moments, and on the whole, I'm looking forward to a second season. I have not read the books, I should also say.
So, from what I can understand from what Felicia and Tom have said in their podcast, each season will be focused on a different Bridgerton child, because each of the books are focused on a different Bridgerton child and their coming of age relationship, finding a partner thing.
That's what they said in the announcement for season 2
Yeah.
as well. It'll be focused on Anthony.
Andrew. Anthony, sorry. What did I
Yeah.
say? Andrew.
Yeah.
Fine.
Which
Andrea.
like it would be interesting to see like how it goes, because obviously like some of the Bridgerton children are quite young at the moment, but on the other hand, they've got a few years before they get to them. Like they have enough of the older Bridgerton siblings to get through first that I think maybe it will be okay. We'll see.
I think it might be more of a problem of those child actors growing up and actually being good enough to hold the roles when they're more in the lead.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That may not happen because you don't really see those younger kids. It might be a little bit like Bobby from Mad Men, who changed every single time, and I didn't actually pick up on that.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of actors and actresses in the UK, so being able to just change every season may not be an option for them either.
I guess we'll see.
I can go. Karina, would you like to go?
yeah, I can go.
Sorry.
I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting, which is saying a lot because obviously I watch Shonda Rhimes shows. It's what I do. I had a full spectrum of emotions. I laughed, I cried, I fell in love, I got indignant, which was a lot of fun. We binged it over 2 days? 2 days.
Whoa.
Maybe 3 days?
I think it was 2, dude.
Well, wow.
Because I was on school holidays and so we
Yeah, I was going to say time. I remember binging shows like that. Wow. I missed
don't
that.
have kids and I was on school holidays, like,
Yeah, no, I wish it's exactly the kind of thing I would like to do. Yeah.
same as Sarah, when I wasn't watching it, I was thinking about watching it, which is probably why we finished it in the space of 2 days. The like 12 hours in between watching the first half and the second half, I was like, but I don't want to know what happens. Yep, really enjoyed it. Looking forward to season 2.
I would like to do a rewatch of season 1.
Yeah, so would I, although I'm a little bit worried because we got to the end and we were both like, we never get to experience watching it for the first time again. So I don't want to be too quick to rewatch it because, you know.
Maybe save a
There's no
rewatch for when
surprise.
the next season comes out.
Yeah.
Like do a pre season 2 rewatch.
Binge 2 seasons all at once.
Also, I guess True Lady Whistledown was, like, she started talking about it. I knew, I told her, I was right, I win.
From when?
Really early.
Yeah, it would have been episode like 4 or 5.
Yeah, you didn't know.
No, I didn't.
I knew.
Yes, you did.
I suspected her really early and then told
You changed
myself,
your
nah,
mind.
it can't be her.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Never suspected
spoilers.
her again.
Spoilers.
Yes, anybody who might actually stumble across this and
Spoiler
watch it,
alert for anyone that's watching. Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to be spoilering.
of all of the
Spoiler
spoilers.
everything.
Yeah, all of them. Yes.
Kirsten.
I think pretty similar to what most of you have said. I really liked it. It was lots of fun. I wasn't expecting, you know, something serious, and that's not what it was, and so it was great. I wasn't expecting historical accuracy or anything like that. I was just expecting a nice fun romance, and
You're
that's what I
telling me
got.
that this isn't historically accurate?
No, that's what I'm saying. I knew it wouldn't be, and I was happy. You know, like some people that I've seen saying that they didn't. You know, I've seen criticisms of it saying that, and it's like, well, it's not really what it set out to be in the first place.
We've had enough accurate historical stuff with serious things. Can we please, you know, in these times, it is nice to have something where it's going, let's have an alternate universe based on our own, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like an alt universe romance thing. Like I really enjoyed it. The only thing I probably like, there's some things that happened with some characters that I was annoyed by, but like it was, yeah. We'll talk about that later. But the only other thing I didn't like was the fact that we were watching it when we were in Noosa and we didn't have a proper TV and we were watching it on Matt's iPad, which was not ideal.
You had to wear your glasses.
I needed to wear my glasses, but it still wasn't very helpful.
I watched the whole thing on my phone.
Oh, see, that's just as bad. So I need to rewatch it so that I can actually see it on a decent sized screen. But
you do need to see those costumes. They are stunning.
yeah, and I really liked the costumes, even though, again, not historically.
No, they're not, but I didn't
But they
care.
were beautiful.
Well, I was watching, I think it was something on YouTube where a lot of at least the lines of the dresses are very similar to what they would have been in that time
It
period.
was a Watch Mojo video.
Oh, it was a Watch Mojo video? There you go. But
Yeah.
like there is a lot more historically accurate in the costuming, while yes, the colors aren't exactly historically accurate. The costuming is fairly historically accurate.
Yeah.
Line-wise, which was nice. Like, it was nice to have
Line-wise, do you mean the silhouette?
the silhouette.
Yeah.
Yes, like they were designed to be like lift the boobs to the sky, the kind of thing.
The Empire line. Yeah.
I know, like Lady Bridgerton, like the mother with her boobs that were like in her throat. I'm like, that even come like they were literally like sitting up here because like that's the style of their time. Like they were like right up here. Like
You mean Lady Bridgerton or Lady Featherington?
Both.
both.
Oh,
Both.
Lady Featherington's silhouette was not historical.
No,
there was nothing accurate about
1940
that.
silhouette. But I didn't care because she actually had my favorite outfit in the whole thing. She came out, I was like, wow, that's spectacular. And I was like, I don't care. 1940s meets, drag queen. I'm here for it. Kirsten, did you finish?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was lots of fun. There were some, like, I agree with, I think Elizabeth's probably going to bring up the same thing that I was going to talk about, that I'll be interested to hear what you were going to say, Elizabeth, but because there were some problematic things, but I enjoyed it enough that I was able to move on from that. I don't know if overlook's the right word, but maybe move on from it. So,
It didn't bother you enough that it took away from enjoying the show for what it was.
it was something that I wish hadn't been in the show, but I still enjoyed the show overall. Yeah, and I was saying before, I think before we started recording, I was saying I got onto I got online and was like, oh, I wonder if any of my libraries have got the books, but they only had the physical books and not the e-books, and I couldn't get to the library. I wanted an e-book that I could download right away, and they didn't have it. And so, but I was like, oh, I want to find out. So you guys were saying, oh, I'll wait until I've watched the next season before I read. So I'm so the opposite. I'm like, I want to know what happens now, so I want to go and read the books, and then. But that's me. I always want to read the book first. So I'm very tempted to go and read some of the books now.
Well, Elizabeth, would you like to go next so Kirsten can see if you both found the same?
No, I think Elizabeth went already, and we will get into more detail.
I think we're waiting on
Here,
that.
I apologise. Mel.
I'm the person who almost didn't finish the show because I didn't actually enjoy it as much as I thought I would. Yeah, I was fine through episode 1 and 2, but we hit episode 3 and I started really not liking Daphne, and I just wasn't having a good time. Was constantly avoiding it. I was having, in fact, I don't think I would have finished it if it wasn't for the hangout. I would have probably abandoned
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a historical accuracy thing. I went in knowing that wasn't going to be a thing for this, and that it was a fantasy world just set in a sort of zone, although I have points on that I want to talk about. But yeah, no, I don't know. I didn't hate it, and there were elements I enjoyed about it, and there were certainly characters I liked, but I don't know, as a whole it just didn't work for me. I think it was too drama ridden, maybe. I don't know.
Fair enough.
What about Matt? We haven't heard from Matt yet. The one male voice in the room.
Yeah, well, I did not know until basically when we decided to watch it that this was based on books. So I obviously haven't read any of the books prior to this. So I didn't really know what it was going to be like, what it was going to be about, and I don't know. I didn't love it. And I didn't hate it, there was some stuff that I quite liked. And I mean, the production design and the costuming was all amazing, and hearing like these funny sort of like 1800s renditions of Billie Eilish, you know, at a party is kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know. I really just didn't get sucked into the characters. So I found it a bit, not difficult exactly, but sort of like caring enough to keep up was a bit tricky. I liked the world. I liked like how you know this kind of version of the world was presented and everything. But I don't know. I just didn't sort of like get into it properly, I think, for me. So I mean, I would happily watch, I think, the next season. That'll be fine. And there was, you know, I liked some stuff, and I was kind of interested in the whole thing with the Duke's dad, and that storyline kind of I found was very interesting. But I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I enjoyed it enough, but I didn't love it. Yeah.
Sounds like Matt.
I am going to say that I feel like it wasn't designed for you.
Yep. I didn't even know it was a romance. I was expecting something more along the Downton Abbey kind of line, and that was not what I got. So
Yeah.
No, I'm going to say right now, definitely not what you were served.
Which I did love. I love Downton.
There's a lot of booty in this show.
There wasn't that much booty.
There is quite a lot of booty in this show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've watched some other shows that have a lot
It's
more.
very much a Shondaland show that is designed for lady watching.
Right.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of girl booty.
No, there was maybe one or two titty.
Yeah, and they were very much flash, and you blink and you'd miss it.
Yeah, it was definitely designed for a straight lady in mind. Which is fine. Like, those ladies deserve shows too. But, you know, full opportunity.
We've had enough of the male eye over the years. Let's have some female eye.
I'm an equal opportunity eye, please.
All right.
Elizabeth, Kirsten, you both said that you had issues. Please bring me your issues.
You go first, Elizabeth.
I wonder if it's the same thing that I didn't actually mention that there was a couple of things I'm like about, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's the same as me.
I mean, I feel like
the elephant in the room. Do the elephant in the room.
Yeah. The elephant in the room would be the story between Simon and Daphne, where Daphne wants children and Simon does not. And Daphne, I guess there's definitely some consent issues there. Except whenever you say there's consent issues, people are going to immediately assume that the woman is being taken advantage of. So I appreciated in some respects that it was showing the other side of the coin on that.
But also, at no point did anyone really explain to her how babies are made. Like, she had to go digging for this information. If like someone at any point in the conversation had said, this is what needs to happen for a baby to be made.
No.
Yeah. No, this is after
she gets that information, and the first thing she does
before she gets married, like on the wedding day, is like, it's a special time between you and your, like, doesn't even explain what sex is. Like,
yeah, I understood why she was pissed about that, and I actually liked that she actually went back to her mum and said, "No, you fucking screwed me over.
Yeah,
you should have told me."
I'm not arguing that there was a consent issue, because yes, I do agree that like that is a consent issue, and it was nice to see it being the woman nice. You know what I mean? Like, it was nice to see that it was from her, like, that it wasn't always the man taking advantage of the woman, even though I do feel like he was also taking advantage of her by not knowing. Like, he was sort of saying this is how sex just works, and, you know, wasn't explaining anything, and that's kind of a taking advantage of her too, not in a consent.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with you, but where the issue really became a problem for me is that Daphne is super hypocritical about the whole situation. She is always like, you betrayed me. And fair enough, you kind of did. But at the same time, she did too.
Yes.
So
that was the issue I had too, was that I was waiting for her to realise that what she had done was horrible and to go and apologise to him. And that didn't really happen. They kind of made up without it being they didn't really show that what she did was so wrong. And I think if the genders had been the other way around, people would have been up in arms.
Oh yeah, it would have been up in arms. In fact, it probably may not even made the show in that format.
Is it because that it's the thing of like, well, she's the one whose body is going to be affected, and so that's where the difference in people's level of problematicness with the consent issue comes from? Do you think it's like she's choosing to get pregnant, so it's less problematic? But not that I agree with that, but
I don't know whether maybe we're thinking about different things. So the scene where she basically rapes him. Yeah, that was the scene I found very uncomfortable, and I'm like, do you know what you just did? You know, like it was just like, and his face, he'd been betrayed. It was just he'd been completely betrayed, and it was like, and she knew, like, you know, she'd done it out of vengeance. She'd done it for the same reason he didn't want to have children. It was vengeance. It was just,
exactly.
And it was, and I was also, though, I don't know, then there was this whole thing that, you know, I don't deny that his dad was an asshole. I found episode 2 very triggering and really hard to watch. I was crying a lot watching that poor child be, like, torn apart by someone who should just love him. I found that really, really hard. And I don't deny that his father was an asshole and that he was like, no one should, you know, that he like wanted to have his revenge on him or wanted to, you know, but you don't, this is the other thing, I don't know whether it just got wrapped up or not, but you don't just give up 25 years of hatred of like, I mean, this is how I, you know, it was so awful. I'm never going to put another kid through this. This is ridiculous. Like, and deciding I don't want to have children. And there's a whole lot of myriad of reasons for that. But it, you know, you don't just turn around on that. And that was the thing I also thought wasn't dealt with well. But I also then, well, it's a romance novel. I have to get over myself. But I was just a little bit like, you know, that was my other thing that I found problematic, which was he's allowed not to have children. That, you know, like he's allowed to, like you say, cannot will. I'm like, it's still, that was the other thing, because I was just like, there are, I'm sure, many people who have chosen to be childless going, fuck you, Daphne. You know, how do you validate my choice, you know?
The thing that he did that pissed me off was that he didn't level with her about that. He didn't say, this is why I don't want to have children. This is, you know, my father was an asshole, and I do not, you know, he lied to her and said he couldn't physically have children. And I get why she was pissed at that. It doesn't give her an excuse to rape him.
Well, she made an assumption.
I get why she was
said, I cannot give you children, which, you know, in the moment, if you watch that scene, could mean like, it's not still, something that I know it's iffy, right? Yeah. It's the writing.
Like, all of this could have been avoided if they had all just used their words and communicated as adults.
Always the trope with these kind of things. Like, if everyone just told the truth to each other, then there would be no story.
I feel like if both of you have decided that you care for one another enough that you're going to get married, that you know you care for her enough that you don't want her to marry the fucking Prince of Russia.
Yeah.
So you're like, and like, if you had just communicated, I feel like none of this would have occurred in the way that it occurred. And that's what got me frustrated.
Yeah,
like,
I said to
everyone
Rachel,
should just use their words.
Yeah, I said to Rachel last night, it's like this weird thing. It's like dating in reverse. So it was kind of like, well, we got married, then we got into the lust side of the relationship. You know, you can't keep your hands off each other. And then we, you know, need to learn about the values and whether we shared them or not. You know, because normally you're like, lust, values, finding one another, figuring that out. Then you get married. And they go like, oh, we'll do the marriage bit first. And then by the time we got to the values bit, so,
usually
yeah,
by the time you get to the values bit, you've already gotten pregnant, so it's too late. Like in this era, like usually you hold hands, we get married, you go through the last stage, so she gets pregnant, and then by the time you get to the like values part, it's too late. She's already pregnant.
Yeah,
like that's just how it worked at that that time period.
Yeah.
So I
think that was my thing. I like you said about the words. I don't know whether it was that I felt that last episode was rushed, but I felt like the climactic scene at their ball, like you said, I wanted him to talk about what had happened to him, what it meant, like to have that healing process to help her, bring her into your reasoning. So then she can kind of. That was just missing.
That they had filmed that they've had to cut out because in some episodes there are like weird jumps where you're like, I feel like we've missed something in this episode. So I feel like because they cut that way that there may have been things that were filmed that had to be cut out due to time. And that's part of why the reason I would like to read the book and just see what the story was supposed to be in full and what we missed out on. Because, I mean, think about it with, like, Harry Potter, for example. Like, how much of really important things from the books never even made a mention in the movies. And, like, you know,
I suspect it might actually be the reverse in this case, though, because we're talking about 8 hours from one short book versus Harry Potter, which is very long books for a 2-hour movie.
I'd be interested to see what was extra for the show and what was not included from like what the differences are. Like I'd be interested to read the book just to see.
Oh, especially too, I'd be interested to see how much of the subplots with the other characters are incorporated. Because I imagine they filled those out a bit. Like how much of the stuff between Colin and Penelope,
Marina.
No, Penelope.
Oh, okay.
How much of that is in there, or even like is Marina a thing at all in the books? Like that would be a really easy like plot to cut out, like if you were.
That did feel like something that could have been added in, that's for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's characters that, like, we've gotten snippets of stories that are from the later books, so that we're not, like, because in the books, like especially because I've read a lot of these kind of books where they have that trope of, here's a series, we're going to have this family and we're going to follow this person in the family and then we're going to follow that person in the next book and then we're following this person in the next book. And in a book, it works fine to be mostly focusing on this one character and then having the others really in the background and then focus on that character. Whereas in the TV show, I feel like they need to set up these other characters at least a little bit as you go along. And so they might be pulling in little threads of stories that are going to be in future books.
Yes, but to that, in this
starting
case,
the seeds of them in this one, you know.
In this case, though, unfortunately, I feel like that's one of the reasons why I'm really not interested in season 2 because I hated Anthony.
Yeah,
I didn't like him either.
Yeah, I didn't.
It was definitely a bit of a hot mess.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sure they'll turn it around, but I'm just like, but do I care?
Especially in the beginning, the first few episodes where he's like screwing everything up because he's like, nobody's good enough for my sister. And then it's like,
nobody's good enough for my sister, not even like my best friend who's, you know, a really wealthy duke. Nobody. No, you should marry this.
Oh, no, so you want to marry someone and just marry off everybody the first guy who asks.
Yeah,
every single dude.
You should marry this really old, ugly, disgusting guy who like he's been through how many seasons of like the wet marriage season and still hasn't found a bride. What's wrong with him? His mother.
His mother.
I think it was quite obvious what was wrong with him.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you think that that's a suitable match for your sister? Like,
he's
guy that's been through so many seasons
because he's an idiot.
Yeah, I think the opera singer was smart to tell him to piss off at the end.
I mean, I feel like he was mostly just looking for someone who wasn't like him.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see who they match him up with. Like if it's someone that we've already met or if they bring in a new
No, it's totally the opera singer.
No, it won't be the opera singer.
It will totally be
someone new.
Really?
Yeah, apparently it's somebody else. Because she's
I
quite
know
right
who
to
it
get
is
on
if
with
you
her
want me to
life. I
spoil
was
it.
like,
No,
I keep
don't
thinking-
Mel.
yeah, I keep thinking, well, it's just because people said, like, keep saying, have you found whoever the name of the, thing is? So people who've read the books were asking if they've found or cast that person. So
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
not the person.
oh, okay. And I thought there was good closure with the opera singer, because also, it's just stuffing
is
up
true.
her life and happiness. And I was like, good for you. Yeah, close the door on this. Like, move on. As you said, like, really, it's a trope again that he's there, the new guy, whereas actually, like, she just wants to move on with her life and, like, find someone who.
Like, she could do better than him. He can't do better than her.
Yes.
Like,
she needs a partner, and she was never going to get that from Anthony. She needs someone who would see her as an equal, and that's not what she was going to get.
From a wealthy family, so she would be stepping up if she married him. But I'm like, no, you can do so much better than him. He's trash file.
Yeah.
She was definitely one of the underrated characters of the season.
Really enjoyed her. I really enjoyed the modiste. I can't think of her name.
I was just
love
going to
her.
say the same thing.
She was great.
Her. I really wanted her to be Lady Featherington. I did
too.
I really wanted her to be Lady Featherington because I want. Oh, sorry, Lady Whistledown. I apologize. And I really wanted it to be her, just because I wanted it to be someone that wasn't part of the, part of society. I wanted her to be sticking it to them.
It made so much sense that she'd get all the gossip, because the women would be talking about all the things while they were getting fitted.
Yeah.
Going to is like going to the hairdresser. Everyone tells their deepest, darkest secrets. Except for you.
Yeah. And I liked Benedict. He's, it'll be interesting to see where his storyline goes. It was a bit of a weird one in this, whereas I think you're right. Like, are they bringing in stuff from other books? Because his kind of exploration of his wild side never kind of went anywhere. It just resulted in him in getting a girlfriend. So it was kind of like, okay. And I was also disappointed because I got the wrong impression from the trailers, and I thought he was going to be a gay character, and I was really disappointed to find out he was a heterosexual. And I was like,
to be fair, not mad that like there is like a fairly prominent artist that ends up being the main character. Like, I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about the fact that he's married to a woman and that she's his beard. Not mad about it. I wanted it to also be Benedict, but I'm not mad.
Yeah, but I thought when he went into that like party and stuff, I was like, oh, this is going to be, he's going to meet some guy and he's going to get.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because he said to Eloise, I can't be myself either. I can't live my, and I was like, that's what a gay man would say in the Regency era. Yes.
I was just down for a bye Benedict. Bye Benedict.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have been angry if he was bi either. Like, explain both sides, girl.
He didn't seem disgusted by seeing the two men together, and a lot of straight men would be like, peace out, I'm out of here, man. Like,
he was like, well, whatever you want to do, mate. Sorry for walking in on you.
Yeah, he was more disturbed by the fact that, you and your wife have a weird understanding. I'm just sitting there going, no, it all makes sense to me. Like, they're both bi. They're having a loving relationship as man and wife, but they want to explore the other side of their sexuality. What about this don't you get?
I think it was uncomfortable for poor Benedict because he was like, I banged your wife.
I slept with you.
I'm really sorry about that. I don't know if I'm supposed to, if you know that I know that I did it, or if you're not supposed to know, or I don't know where I stand here.
Which was kind of
adorable. To be fair, that would be kind of awkward.
It would be awkward, yeah.
Especially when you meet them at a really fancy party.
Yeah, and then you're like, I don't know what to do about this.
Yeah. But I did like him and the motifs. I thought that was nice, and they sort of seemed like, I don't know if it would go anywhere. We'll see. But I did think I was like, now there's a relationship that looks much more like a partnership as opposed to Anthony and his like a mistress kind of thing. Like this looks like the fact he had the sister. It was awkward because
fantastically awkward carriage ride.
It was. It was great. I was like, good for you. You're not ashamed. You're like, yeah, like.
But he clearly hadn't thought it through. Like, The
Well,
implications.
for her, especially, I
Yeah.
felt sorry for the girlfriend, right?
Yeah,
I just-
yeah.
he's- you know, and so he just was like, oh, you know, I'm dating someone, she's great. And then it was like, oh, crap, they know one another. Because, of course, he knows the truth about her, which is that she's from the south side of the river and not France. So, I thought that was very funny.
I also loved Eloise's character. She was fantastic.
Yeah, she was
Yeah, she's one of my favorites.
Can
She
I
does
just
a lot
say,
of acting like this. Like she
Yeah,
does a lot of hand gestures in her acting. I'm sorry, my hair is coming out and it's being included in the crocheting that Korean's doing.
I have to say that those first couple of episodes, I could not keep my eyes off Claudia Jessie. She just captivated. Every time she was on the screen, she just captivated me. I don't know. And she had the way they
So who's
dressed her.
she?
Eloise?
She played Eloise.
Oh, Eloise, right. Okay, right.
Yeah. I just couldn't keep my eyes off her, and she just stole every scene. And I just, you know, and then especially when she was with Penelope and that friendship I loved as well. But I thought was really clever costuming is that the way they dressed Eloise reminded me of Annie Hall. Do you guys know Annie Hall? You know, so it's the Diane Keaton look, which is, you know, like the you know, the hats and the
She had a
the
particular
big
hair thing that
cravats,
she
and
always
very
had.
like I'm the writer kind of look, you know, and I loved that. I was like,
I
know
love
exactly what you go for that.
I love all the like scenes of Eloise out on the swing, smoking.
Smoking, yeah. There were some nice sequences, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially when she was out there and spoke with
her brother.
her brother.
Benedict.
I want to say it was Benedict. Yep.
It was Benedict.
It was.
It wasn't Pompadour.
That's Colin, yep.
Colin.
I love
Yeah, 'cause
Colin.
they're-
Colin was a sweet little custard bun who needed to be sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Colin is right.
Yeah, but then he
Cinnamon
fell
roll.
in with a bad crowd and almost married Marina.
Yeah,
Well,
I
no,
love that.
honestly, but I honestly don't think. I think what he said was absolutely true. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm 100% shipping Colin and Penn, but
Eloise and Penn, come on.
yeah, well, that too would also go down very
I
well.
think that Penelope is too straight. Eloise could go either way, but I feel like Penelope really wants a husband.
Sadly.
Yeah. But
Sorry,
like,
okay.
I didn't think it was a bad match for him still even. Like, yes, he was far too young
Marina.
and all that. Marina, yeah.
I didn't think it was a bad match. I just felt like it would have been bad to start off a lie with Colin because he's just so
Yeah.
innocent.
Yeah, I
Fairness.
agree with what Colin said, which about that if she'd been honest with him, he would have been okay with it. I agree with that 100%.
I definitely think with the character they presented, if she had just come to him and said, "This is what's happened to me," he would have married her. No problem.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even second guessed it. But
No.
I guess for her that's a huge risk. Like if she doesn't know that he would have, and
Well,
she
she's
goes
also
and,
got Mrs. Bridgerton in her ear as well, who
Yeah.
is married to the biggest
Mm.
gambling
I
don't-
in the
Oh, man,
world.
I
so.
don't blame her for not doing it.
Oh, no, I
I
don't
get
blame
where
her.
she came from. I just feel like it made her look bad because we're seeing it more from Penn's perspective. But in reality, she didn't have many choices, and she was doing the best she could. Like they were both right.
Yeah.
But also, it was just so heartbreaking because I was so sure that George was going to come at the end.
I
and he
was too.
I was so
Do you know
sure.
what I thought could happen?
Right.
Is I was like going, but then I had to keep reminding myself it didn't happen in this era. I was like, well, you don't want an heir, you want a family, so why don't you adopt Marina's kid?
Oh,
Then
I
it all
did think
works
that for a
out.
second
At
as
one
well.
stage, I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
maybe Daphne will ask Marina to come and live with them in the countryside, and
Yeah,
then
I
he
thought
can
that
go back
too.
home.
Yeah, and
they
then you
can
become
stay-
the what is it, the guardian, right? The
Yes.
whatever the yeah.
Yeah, so it's
not
not
the-
he's
yeah.
like the child.
It's called-
the ward.
Yeah.
So their kid would
Child.
become the ward. Yeah. Yeah.
And yet, like, I think, like, I was really hoping for that. Like, especially when Daphne brought Marina and Colin out to their house to, like, talk to one another privately. I was like, and when Colin left, I'm like, offer Marina to stay. Let her stay.
Look, I
Let her
want a
stay.
kid and my husband doesn't, but
And then it didn't happen. And then George's brother came, and I was like, okay, I can see why I understand, but it's not what I wanted.
Yeah, indeed. I was the same. I was like this baby could solve everybody's problems.
I really thought that was going to be the solution to the I don't want to have a baby problem.
Yeah.
The problem is with that solution is that she would still be screwed. Like, it wouldn't matter that someone else had the baby. The fact that she had been pregnant out of wedlock, she would pretty much be screwed. So, like, unless they actually decided to, like, let her stay with them forever, like, what she
But they could have done it on the hush hush. The problem was that Penn got all angry and wrote it into her papers, because if you could have taken her and put her, you know, like, well, who was that queen? Was it Queen Catherine who had like kids out of like wedlock and stuff? You know, so you can always just hide them away.
Go to the countryside to have a baby. That's what they did. If you got pregnant out of wedlock, you went to the countryside.
I did that in Downton Abbey, remember?
You came back a year later, and you were a little bit heavier than you were when you left for the countryside. But countryside
like Peggy and Mad Men.
for you.
Or they'd go off to you know, go on a trip abroad for a while.
They'd go touring through Europe.
Yeah.
They'd go on a tour.
Yeah. But that would have had to have happened before she was outed, before the general population knew that she was pregnant. But
Also,
once people found out, she was screwed. And I think that the brother did the right thing by going and looking after her, but it's kind of sucked for both of them.
Yeah, but I mean, based on historical stuff, they had just as good a chance of being happy as anyone else, because honestly, they never really knew each other when they got married that time.
Exactly.
No one ever really knew anyone. Like,
you know, and and there was age differentials as well. I just had to keep going. I can't see. Oh crap! I can't see the Duke as the age that he probably is, which is like 28, and she's 18, because that just. There's a power issue there. I'm just going to believe that you and Anthony were at Oxford and then you graduated and went traveling, so you're like 24. Everyone good? Okay. That's the only way I could like be okay with it.
Whereas back then it probably would have been worse than that. 18 and 28 probably would have been actually pretty close in age compared to...
She's not 18. We ended up looking that up.
Oh, really?
The actress or the character?
Daphne. Like the character. She's meant to be 21.
That's a very late coming out for her.
Yeah, that is a long coming out.
That's very weird.
Which makes me think that Eloise is 18-ish.
Okay, that makes more sense in a lot of ways.
That is really unusual for that. Like, I mean,
yeah, there was a lot
historical accuracy is not a thing in this.
Yeah, don't worry.
You just got to let that stuff go. And they did definitely change a lot of stuff for modern sensibilities. And I guess we got to just go, yep, they just decided.
So, yes, her being 21 and him being like 27, 28 is a lot less icky than her being 18. Oh, he's
18.
29.
And Anthony's 30.
Okay, so Anthony is 30.
Yeah. And
Anthony's 30, so Benedict is
to his mother.
Benedict is 27. Well, that's a big gap between Benedict and
3 years, yeah.
Well,
And Colin's
Oh,
22.
yeah. I've already decided how old everybody is. And I'm like, look, this couple got it on a lot and kept popping out kids. So, you know, it's like one a year or every 2 years. It's the way, like,
Well, that's the
they've got a
weird
lot
thing.
of kids.
Yeah.
wow.
That's a weird thing.
Like,
And
to
I'm
have big gaps between them, I don't think is like, if you have 8 children, it's not, you know, you wouldn't have as many big gaps in that. You would just be like, going for it.
Oh, wow. So the girl who plays Penelope is supposed to be 17. So Eloise and Penelope are both supposed to be 17.
Yeah.
The actress who plays Penelope
She's
is
31.
34. No,
Yeah.
34.
Yeah.
And the actress who plays Eloise is 31.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're older than the
Oh, they're
people
always
who are playing
Yeah.
people older
Playing
than them.
younger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's supposed to be an age gap between Daphne and Eloise of 4 years?
Yes. So it looks like there's about a 3 to 4 year age gap between all the kids. So
I'd just
Anthony
like to
is
say their mother is not old enough for these gaps of
No,
ages.
that's right.
No,
I was
like
exactly
if
the same. I'm
Anthony's
like,
supposed to be 30, his mother has to be at least like, I suppose she would probably have her first at like 22, so I could imagine that she would be 52. She'd be a very
doesn't
young
look
looking
50.
52.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I've seen some.
I wonder
think-
if that many.
Like, who did I see? Was somebody, was some celebrity someone posted not that long ago, and there was like, this person's 50, and I'm like, I'm 10 years younger, and I look like 20 years older than that person. Like, so you know. But I was gonna say before, I have a confession to make. I didn't notice the thing with the names until the very
Oh,
last
me
episode
neither.
when he was like, oh well, we have to give the baby a name that starts with A, and I'm like, why? And then
Didn't you hear it at the beginning? It was in the first episode.
I must have,
Whistledown said it was like, it was kind of I can't remember, she kind of thought
She
it was a bit
made
of a-
some
she made some
comment on it.
comment about naming them all, and
I must have missed that.
the
So I
mum
was
said,
like,
"Oh, we just thought it was
Yeah, I
practical," and I
didn't
was like,
notice that either.
you know,
maybe we didn't hear that bit because we were listening to the stupid iPad.
No, we watched the first one on TV. We actually watched the first two on TV
Oh, did we?
out
I
here
can't
before
remember.
we went away. Yeah.
But yeah, I had either I didn't hear that or I didn't listen, you know, like didn't remember about it. But it wasn't until the end, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the first baby's name has to be an A," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm really dumb."
Actually, knowing it helped me a lot because I kept getting the brothers mixed up. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, god
Yeah.
damn, they look so much alike.
Yeah, so it's like, that's what I mean. That's why Colin is Pompadour, because
Yeah.
that was easier to remember. But I mean, like, he was very innocent for someone that's supposed to be 24.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I-
why
it
I don't
doesn't-
I
believe it.
did not.
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
have
don't like
guessed
these
that. I would have
age-
thought he was like
No.
18.
That's it,
Like,
because he's really good friends with Penn, and you know, like, so to me, I was like, the three of you are actually a lot closer in age, you know.
Yeah, they seem too close even to be
Yeah.
in terms of their relationship for
Yeah.
those age gaps.
Yeah.
And
It surprises me that Colin is so close to Penelope when, like, there's a whole sister age gap in between. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, but then saying
Being
that,
friends with
Eloise
your
is,
younger brother
Yeah.
or sister's
yeah.
friend.
And Eloise is close to Benedict, so who knows, you know.
that's true. And then there's,
We had that happen though with us. Like I was always closer with my younger brother than the brother closest in age to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it's having that little bit of separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I mean, and I always forget that it's Hyacinth and
Francesca and
Francesca.
Gregory.
Gregory, that's his name. I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
who's she? Is it
Yeah,
Jeffrey?
Francesca just disappeared. I was like, who's F and where have they? Oh, I've been at music camp. I'm like, I don't remember you going to music camp. Maybe that came up. I don't remember, but apparently you're back.
There's like a throwaway in the first episode about Francesca going to.
Oh, see, I don't even remember that. I just assumed like she must have lost a child and we were going to explore that at some point, you know, because that would have happened.
Like, if there's such large gaps, did she like lose children or like? Because that's a really large gap, especially for that.
That's why I don't believe it for the
Especially
show. Everybody is. I've done this with everybody in the show.
Especially for a like a love match. Like it's not like they would have only been doing it to get kids. So
That's
why
right.
was there so many gaps?
Yeah, there's like all this
Had
stuff
trouble
about how
falling
much they love one another, and then in like that you've got like, I suppose. But I mean, like they're rich. Like there's no real reason for them not to have kids altogether. Like
Maybe she was as naive as she made Daphne to be, and the first one came along and she was like, fuck, how'd this happen? And then
Or
left it for a
maybe-
while out of horror.
that's a crazy
I know.
theory.
She liked it
Maybe-
enough to keep going back, baby.
Maybe the author didn't put as much thought into the age gaps as we have.
Yeah, if
You know,
historical
families
accuracy
that
isn't
do
a
have
thing,
big
I don't know if other
families, they don't
accuracies.
tend to have big gaps. They tend to be,
Yeah.
you know,
like
a lot
even
closer in age.
even now, like people who have larger families generally don't have such large gaps, especially when there's so many children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is big gaps between all of you, but there is also only 4 of you, not 8 of you.
There's 6 of us.
Oh, there's 6 of you. I'm sorry, I'm a Jody Lyle. I keep
Yeah.
forgetting about your older siblings. I always think of Karina as the eldest
I kind of am.
because I've never met your
Yeah.
other siblings, so I feel like that's a you problem, not a me problem. I thought of something I wanted to bring up and now I've lost it. I'm sorry. That's okay.
I wanted to ask you guys, so the actress who plays Penn, Nicole Clogger or something, I can't remember her name. Anyway, from here it goes. She has this great quote about how she thinks about Penn and Eloise, and which is, she says she always kept thinking of them as two virgins who can't drive, which is that great throwback to Clueless.
Oh, that's great.
It's like, I mean, when I heard her say that, I burst out laughing. I'm like, oh my God, she's right. And there's that whole scene where Eloise and Penn are like trying to figure out how Marina got married. You know,
How did she get pregnant if
Oh,
she's
that
not
was
married?
great.
Have to make
You
sure it
know.
doesn't happen to us.
Yeah.
It
And-
starts with cake. I'm like, fuck. How am I not pregnant? I've been eating cake all my life.
Yeah. And I just but at the same time, because that's why I never really suspected Penn until I started like going, and the big giveaway was Marina, right? But I was like going, how are you writing as Lady Whistledown, which is all very tongue-in-cheek about the sex side of stuff? Like, I wish them well and stamina, you know, that kind of thing. If you don't know anything about sex, because she's writing like she does.
Maybe she's pretending not to know anything so that Eloise doesn't think that it's her.
Right, but they've been
Maybe.
friends for like, I don't know. And
I don't know.
Yeah,
As the
and it'll be
youngest
interesting.
sibling, she probably pretends to be a lot more naive than she.
yeah, that's true, especially with the
just
sisters and
because
things.
she
Yeah,
likes to
and her mother.
be the youngest, and that lets her get away with things with her mother.
Even that said, like I feel like I kind of wasn't super happy that it was Penn, even though like Karina I'd kind of guessed a bit earlier. Because I feel like as Lady Whistledown, she says some stuff that's really, you know, not all that nice, and like as Penn she seems a lot more
I
You
suspect
asked me
she's
a
not actually Lady Whistledown. I think it's a red herring. It wasn't
I-
explicitly said.
I think maybe she's working in cahoots with somebody. That was my thought. I don't know if it's true or not, but you know, there is somebody else, and she's feeding information, but not actually writing.
I just
you know, like
don't feel like it's information they would have given away so easily.
yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah, I was surprised
That was
it
what.
wasn't who Lady Whistledown was at the end of season 1.
Sorry, say that again, Naomi.
I thought it was strange that they gave us who Lady Whistledown
because
was.
they didn't know if they
Yeah.
were going to get renewed for a second season. I think they really didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah, but that was an exceptionally good hook to get the second season through, right?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
who's
would-
read the books?
No one.
Nobody.
No one. So we don't know if that's actually revealed in the book or
I
not.
haven't actually spoiled myself on that, I must admit, but I've spoiled myself on a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, I would like to read the books, so I think I will at some stage.
Yeah.
I have some reservations about the author, so I am steering clear of the books for the time being.
I remember you saying
This
something,
could be a
Elizabeth, in the
library.
chat, and I couldn't remember, and then I couldn't be bothered searching, but I was wondering, like, because I remember you commenting that you were really thrilled that they were using a diverse cast, and that would really annoy the author. But from what I saw, she actually was really excited and into it.
Yeah, she is. So it's maybe she has learned and grown, but in the romance community, she has been known to have said some problematic things previously, such as she doesn't write Black characters because historically happy endings are just not realistic for them.
Okay, that is a problematic thing to say.
And things along those lines, like I think she's done a really good job of scrubbing it, but like the romance community have a long memory.
Yeah. And
Try
maybe
being part of the Harry Potter. Try being part of the Harry Potter fanfic community. We never forget. We're elephants. I'll always come for you, Cassandra Clare.
I've never ever read any Harry Potter fanfic, but I read the first one of her books and I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible.
Yeah. Well, maybe I mean, who knows? People can learn and grow. Not J.K. Rowling, but hopefully, because I don't know how long ago that was said, but I mean, that's a terrible thing to say, but I'm hopeful that, like, I've said some really stupid, awful things 20 odd years ago. I don't know when this was, by the way, but, you know, I think back about naive, biased me, and I'm like going, oh God, thank God there wasn't the internet to this extent, you know, where it could capture all of my, you know, my, you know, problematic, you know, assumptions.
I mean, I hope so, but there's a part of me that feels really cynical, and that she's aware that how much money this is going to make her. We'll see.
Yeah. The other thing, though, to be also very aware of is that in the romance writing community, there is a particularly prevalent group who are quite racist and are known to be so, and there's some serious problems in that respects. So while under normal circumstances I'd be willing to say yes, she might be changing, I think it's much more likely that she's actually part of that group and is being backed up by a group of other white ladies who think very similarly.
Okay.
That's all right. I was going to buy her books from Amazon anyway, so they probably wouldn't have given her.
I was just looking at getting her book from the library because it doesn't cost me anything, and I'm not.
That was what I was planning to do anyway.
There are 12 copies in the Brisbane City Council libraries, and there are 146 holes.
Yep.
Obviously, everyone else had the same idea. Because I was looking for ebooks. Maybe they'll buy some ebooks now. Because I was like, surely they have an ebook of this. Nope.
My library's bought a whole heap of copies. They're not in yet, but they've got a whole heap of copies coming in because they only had a couple of random ones from the series and not the first one. So
my library had a lot of the ones that were like prequel. Apparently, there's a bunch of prequel ones that are like, I don't know if it's
of course.
No, she did a lot of epilogues to the books.
Yeah, but they were talking about this was the previous generation. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
there's one.
At the blurb,
I think there's at least one that's with the mother. So
yeah. I was like, oh, I don't want to read about those people. I don't know who they are.
There is apparently 111 copies of the MP3 audiobook, so I can listen to it as an audiobook.
Oh, really?
I can't read it. Yeah. Apparently. That's what it said. 111.
So I loved Lady Danbury. Maybe more the point is I love the actress who played Lady Danbury. I was like, yes, enunciate. You need to do everything. You need to
You know who she was giving me vibes of?
Who?
Avis Aralia.
Yeah. She's got the sass. That's what it is.
It's that sass and that confidence as a more mature lady, and I was just like, woman, keep doing that.
I was like, I want you to come to everything and announce everything that's coming. I want you to stand up, you know, and like have a microphone. Just loved hearing her proclaim stuff, and it was just, she was wonderful. And I could listen to her, you know, because the actress is a thespian, so that makes complete sense. Like why she commands the stage, and she's
she's probably the best actress in the whole show.
She was amazing, and I just like Lady Danbury all the time, please.
And the first moment you saw her, I was just, woman, please be in this a lot. Please let this not just be this one scene.
And there was that scene I loved where she's got, she has the hair out, and she's smoking a cigarello. I just loved it. I was like, yeah, you do you, girl.
Her salon where she's got all the married ladies drinking and gambling.
Yes, it was great. I was there for that. I loved it. So she was wonderful, and
the wonderful thing about the show is that even though sometimes Daphne just drove me nuts and I didn't like her sometimes, there are all these wonderful other characters that you could enjoy.
Yeah. And one of my favorite scenes, actually, which I was, you know, and that's where we say how much of these subplots or other character views are in the book, because the book is called The Duke and I. So I'm like, is it written from a first person perspective? But I really loved the Queen because wow, those wigs. But
She was
also,
fantastic.
She was
Yeah, she
great.
was
Oh, it's so
fantastic.
sad as well with her husband.
Yeah, well, that was the bit that got me. There was always this thing of going, your husband, is he dead? Well, I don't want to know. But then there was the scene with the two of them, and you were like, oh God, this is why it's so hard. And you're having to block it off because this is not the man, you love him, but oh, I just felt for her. And it was like, this is the man I love, but he's no longer there.
Yeah.
It was so heartbreaking, and they'd lost a kid, and I was like, oh my God, like it just was this wonderful character insight that I really resonated with. I just thought it was wonderful, and I don't know if it's in the books or not.
I don't
because
believe
it's yeah, you don't believe? No, because of course, you know, King George did go, you know, he did go nuts. And, you know, had, you know, probably very bad senility and dementia. You know, that's why it's called the Regency era. I learned that just this, you know, that because the Regent. But, you know, it was, I know, you know, he's quite he's someone who's in history a lot, obviously, because he's a lot to do with the independence of America. So I was like, I know that guy from Hamilton as well as the madness of King George. But
crazy King George.
Yeah. But then to see, and I thought it was really, you know, it was a really truthful moment of how that can affect the other family members, just, you know, and how she is dealing with that, which is by putting up walls and engaging in gossip. I get that. Like, you need something frivolous if
distract you.
Exactly. Like, that's why I said I really enjoyed this, because I need something frivolous and something, you know, fluffy. I don't want anything too serious, because things are a little bit, you know, things can be quite tough in my real life. So, you know, that's what I'm looking for. So I totally get why. And I thought I loved that, this characterization and this, like, why Queen Charlotte is so into this gossip and match. Like, why is she so invested in this? Because she needs that distraction, like you said. So yeah, I loved that. It was great.
Yeah. This show had all of the frivolous, fun stuff that I wished was in The Absinthe Earl. When we read that book, that was what I wanted, was this fluffy, you know, silly, fun,
sexy times.
Like,
I just
not necessarily great, you know, not necessarily literature, but fun to read. That was what I wanted from Absinthe Earl and didn't get, and I was really happy to get. This is what I was expecting.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I got.
I feel cheated by Absinthe Earl, and I wish I'd spoken up sooner when Karina said, no, I didn't. I was a DNF too. I was like, oh, fuck's sake, I wish I'd said. I'm hating this novel. I hate it. I'm so bored. So, and I was not bored in this, so it's good.
So can I talk about the thing that really bothered me about the world building?
Yes,
yes,
you can.
please.
So I came into this knowing that this was a fantasy world and that I could not apply logical rules to it in terms of historical context. And so I was fine with the costumes. I was fine with so many things. Everything was fine. In fact, I thoroughly enjoyed the costumes. My God, I was so happy. No, the thing that got me was the dancing. Because, so here's the thing. It's set in sort of a Jane Austen-y time period, right? We know that by the clothing style choices, the silhouette. The thing is that they've kept all of the moral values of that particular time set, and yet they're allowing them to dance in this close context. Oh, I'm not allowed to be anywhere near you because that will bring shame upon my family, but I'm allowed to dance a freaking waltz that is not brought in for another several decades.
That too. The waltz, I think the waltz existed back then, but it was considered like risque. It was
extremely risque and would not have been done anywhere near the Queen.
Yeah, I did notice that, but I think I was more willing to go, here's another reason why it's not historically accurate.
That was my tipping point. It wasn't what killed the series for me. That was the characters, and I had other problems and things along those lines. But that particular point in the historical context, I was like, I don't mind that you've changed all these things, but if you're going to keep this element, this chastity-ridden, proprietary, you know, how we have to behave in society and everything, women must be pure thing, then the dancing doesn't match. There's a problem here.
This universe, dancing is not considered sexy.
I don't think
It was
so.
also the only way that they could start to establish a relationship between.
But they do
The
that in
Duke
all
and
of the
Dash-
Jane Austens, okay? It's just a different style of dancing that they don't have to stand right up close, body pressed against each other.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think Pride and Prejudice, the original BBC, shows some of that style. You know, we stand in lines and we do this, and then we. I don't know.
All of the Pride and Prejudice do. That's the type of dancing of the time period. Was that line dancing style, where you would cross partners, but you would be mostly paired with one person. The BBC, the 1995 BBC version really showcases very well how a conversation works in that circumstance. But it shows that you can have a conversation, and anyway. My point is that was the thing that threw me out. I don't need to go on a complete soap bandwagon on this. I found it amusing about myself. I just found it amusing about myself that was the thing that threw me out.
That's the hill you're going to die on.
I'm like, God damn it, people! If we're going to break the rules of society, why this one?
Why that one and not other ones? Yeah,
well, like exactly that. Yeah, that was exactly that. Like I was just like, and I also admit that freely that I'd seen in the ads the scene of them on the stairs in the library having sex, which actually happened after they got married, but I thought it happened before and I kept waiting for it.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It so would have been, which means it makes more sense that it would have happened when you were stealing a moment rather than, you know, we're married and we can have sex wherever we want.
Yeah.
The producers went with a definite comfort inaccuracy, like along with historical.
Those stone stairs was not a good one either.
Oh, let's get caught in the rain and then go and have sex on a concrete plinth. Yeah, no. Look, I think there's a thing, and maybe it's because I'm a 40s.
Sex in general, like they have sex on the beach, and I'm like, but
sand's getting everywhere.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. I think younger people might be like, oh, it's a romantic sex in the rain and getting caught in the rain. I'm like, no, you're just wet and damp and unhappy, right? I'm cynical in my 40s.
Maybe I'm just old. Maybe that's what it is.
No,
yeah.
I'm like, who thought that was comfortable?
But yeah, I did think it apparently, and I watched an interview with her. They had an intimacy coordinator, and that was really interesting. So there's a few interviews with her on YouTube. But I'm like,
I'm not surprised. They went
but it's a really good role because it's something that probably should have existed a long time ago on film sets, and like basically working with actors well in advance in rehearsals of like, what are you comfortable with? You know, like let's rehearse things with like clothes on and padding and where things sit. And I was like, yeah, this is how you have good, convincing kind of erotica that you don't find out 25 years later someone, you know,
that they hated one another.
And they were
like, yes, I can tell that you people hated one another.
Yeah,
and not a surprise.
Gone with the Wind reference, anyone?
Well, they kind of hated each other in the story too, though. Really, maybe that's why it came off so well.
Many times when you're like watching something about like information about some sort of movie, and you're like, and the actors hated one another, and you're like, yeah, I know. I watched the movie. They fucking hated one another. Their chemistry was non-existent.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think in Gone with the Wind they had chemistry because they hated each other, but that kind of worked.
Because that was the relation. I've never seen Gone with the Wind, but there was all that. Yeah.
Naomi, how did you find the chemistry in this? Just out of curiosity.
I was pretty happy with it. Like, yes, there were times where I was like, do you actually like one another? But like, I'm grading on a scale here of how bad I've seen it, and this was not bad. So, like, obviously the intimacy sort of person that they had on set really did help them actually create a convincing relationship. And I mean, I don't think that the two actors hated one another, which also helps. Like, But
I
just
liked that it was a romance that started out in a friendship, which I always enjoy that.
I enjoyed the friendship between Daphne and Simon a lot more than I enjoyed their relationship.
Agreed.
Like the family dinner where they're sitting beside one another, and Daphne was like, "Why would I want to be married to you of all people?" Like very like bluntly being like, "Fuck you."
Straight up know what you get up to.
Yeah, like I do not want you. I don't want you anywhere near me. Please go away. Like
that's one of those romance tropes where it's like they hate each other and now they love each other.
Yeah.
Enemies to
This
lovers,
was,
yeah.
this was sort of an enemies to friends to lovers, which I thought worked
they
very
did
nicely.
have
Yeah.
that like good step in between where they actually grew a relationship of friendship rather than just being like, we hate each other and now we're fucking.
Yeah.
I really
The
liked
moment
it.
in front of the painting.
Sort of went from
Yeah.
That was my favorite, I think.
Which one's sorry? What?
Their moment in front of the painting together when they hold hands.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was beautiful.
That was lovely.
But that's
Oh,
the-
and also
it was
when
because,
he
like,
makes her
he was
laugh
telling
when
the story about
the
his
prince
mum and
comes.
stuff.
Oh, the snorting. That was very funny.
When she laughs at the
Oh
prince.
yeah, that was great.
That was well done. Especially as a reason why the prince was actually interested in her in the first place too. Like that she caught his attention because she wasn't simpering to him and
He
things
wasn't,
along those
yeah,
lines.
yeah.
You're right, Mel. That was a really clever piece of writing.
Yeah, the other part that I liked was when he was like, when she was asking him about like what happens with like men and women after they get married, and he's like, well, it's kind of you're by yourself. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you know, when you're in bed by yourself and you touch yourself. And she's like, no, I don't know what you mean. And he's like, go and do it. I thought that was really good.
There was actually the writing on that because he says, so that's how you come, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Picked up on that, and I was like, oh, bravo.
Yeah. But that was, I think, part of my problem is I felt the first like bit with them going from enemies to friends was done so well and so cleverly, and the dialogue was really good through all of that stage, that I felt that when he sort of ended things, I felt like things just fell apart at that stage for me on their relationship. Like not completely, don't get me wrong, like I said, it was fine. But I think that's where I sort of was just not enjoying it as much. I was enjoying the other characters, but I didn't feel like the writing was as clever after that point.
I reckon that would have been better in the book, and I don't know because I haven't read it, but I was thinking at the time when, because at a certain point I was like, yeah, no, he is so set in this thing about he really doesn't want to marry her. And then when he did the little speech to the Queen about how much he loved her, I was like, okay, I didn't actually think that your feelings were that strong. And I wonder whether in the book, like usually, I mean, I've read enough romance books that quite often there's little hints in the writing that kind of get you to realize that he is, like little ways that they describe looks and things that make you realize that he's really still.
You get more of a description of how he's looking at her rather than just
I reckon it might have been clearer in the book that he was definitely still like besotted with her, and he was just holding back because he thought it was better for her, which I didn't get that from the show. I more got that he was just so, I kept saying to Matt, he's cutting off his nose to spite his face. Like, trying to get back at his father, he's actually punishing himself, and his father's dead and doesn't care. And all you're doing is punishing yourself, you stupid man. I was so angry.
Like, how you'll feel at the end of this revenge is just like, it's going to be unsatisfactory.
Revenge against someone that can't even be there to see the revenge. Like,
you've had the revenge. You told the guy on his deathbed. Now, whatever happens after that doesn't actually not
the other
matter.
thing is, like, he also, like, he didn't just marry someone for their station. Like, he, like, while Daphne is quite highly stationed, like, he did marry someone that he cared about. Go, okay, this person can give me the most amount of dowry, so I will marry this person because that is what the Hastings do. Like,
or because of genetics, or because of her skill sets, or anything like that. He married someone he liked and enjoyed spending time with.
Yeah.
The only thing that didn't make me hate the fact that she actually had a baby at the end was the scenes with him with the kids that made me go, well, he actually, I think, does want kids. He's just wants to spite his father more than he wants his own happiness.
I don't think the problem is that he hates children.
No.
I think he just really wanted revenge on his father. And I'm like, sir, you have that. He dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Told
was,
him, you
But
fucked his
and
eye.
that's
that was the
why,
only thing
though,
that got me
she-
to come around to that idea, because I was at the beginning, I was like, you have manipulated him into having children when he didn't want any. But I'm like, well, I think maybe he did want to have children. He just didn't want to.
Yeah, but then we missed that whole bit where he explains, like, to me, there wasn't a cathartic, let me tell you what it was like and why I harbored this
Yes.
anger,
Yeah,
resentment. And for her to
I wanted
have them
that.
say.
Yeah. I wanted
The
that.
only way
and,
she got that was by snooping in the letters.
But talking
That's
to the
exactly-
God, like to other people. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, God.
There's that problem. And also Daphne says it at one point, but I wanted that to be more the reason that she turned things around, which was she says exactly what we're saying, that he was cutting off his nose to spite his face. And she basically says that to him in anger. And I was like, what you're supposed to be doing the whole time. That's the thing you're supposed to be talking to him about, not just throwing in his face and then marching out and having a hissy fit over the whole thing.
Yeah, and then and that scene was bad.
Which is why a lot of this could have been avoided if everyone had used their goddamn fucking words and had a conversation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before it got
Because
to
my favorite conversation was actually the conversation on the wedding night where
Yes.
I I was like, oh, good, you're finally using your words. It was like, you know, like, oh, I've been it was great. It was like they finally were kind of having it out and like realizing they both really like each other. I'm going, you seem to have forgotten you were kind of having a bit of a snog like 3 days ago. Like, I think you guys like one another. It hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And like you both snogged each other. It wasn't like it was just one-sided.
He went to her and then he was like, I'm sorry. She was like, no, you come here, mate. And then it was just like, I was like, okay. And then you're getting it on. There's some groping happening. And then frickin' Anthony did what Anthony always does, which is bungle everything up. And I was like, God, did you two forget about that? Have you forgotten that it happened? Because you're acting like it. So, but I liked that whole bit when he was talking about, you know, and it was good writing. She's like, you know, no need to get angry. Oh my, he said, I'm not angry. Oh, yes, you are. You're positively flushed. And the whole, you know, the burn thing was great. And that was that whole back and forth and realizing things. I wanted that at the end, but it felt, maybe I'm wrong, it felt like some kind of more like Daphne's soliloquy as opposed to a converse, like you know, find out about each other. Because I was just, my annoyance with the whole baby thing was he seems to have come around really quickly. You don't give up that much vengeance that fast. Like it takes some processing to get there.
Yeah. And I did feel very sudden, and I did wonder whether that was the thing with the show. I was like, oh, wow, we've got a baby already. We're jumping ahead in time, and here she is with having a baby. And I'm like,
yeah,
that seemed very sudden.
Well, you know, she's young.
Yeah.
Presumably fertile. You know,
Anyway,
they're now having sex without worrying about it. So
they're banging all over the house.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, literally all over the house, not rooms. Or
I did wonder
like
about the servants. And the servants like, well, we have to leave this room now because
they're all hanging around the corner having a little look-see.
Oh, of course they would be.
I mean, to be fair, if you were a servant to him, wouldn't you want to be like, excuse me, sir?
Oh, yeah.
You need
Absolutely.
You need a hand with anything?
Yeah.
Cookies?
I can take that shirt for you. I can take the shirt. Someone take the shirt? Yeah.
Sorry, sir, there's no clean shirts for you to wear. You just have to walk around naked today.
Yeah.
Sorry, we were all thinking it. You know it, even Matt.
Oh dear.
On that delicious note, I should probably head off. So I'll catch you guys around. Thanks for tonight. It's been lovely.
Karina says goodbye. Sorry, she's just stepped out the door, but she was waving as you said goodbye.
All good. Take care, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Are we finished, guys? Shall I wrap up the video?
I do just want to say that if someone would like to have a further opinion of what someone else thinks of Bridgerton, I would highly advise listening to Felicia and Tom's podcast. Like, they do actually do research and like have an actual discussion about each episode, so it's interesting, and it has helped me pick up things that I was like, oh, I didn't pick that up on my first watch through. So if anyone is interested.
I did watch a couple of YouTube videos that were by costumers talking about the costumes, which were interesting.
I watched that German lady. She's quite well renowned. Yeah, I got halfway and I was like,
the
okay.
Polish one, Caroline.
Yeah, she's Polish. Yeah. Sorry, that was rude of me. I just can't tell the difference. But yeah, the Polish lady. She's quite well renowned. I watched a bit of that.
It was funny.
Yeah,
she's good.
It was. But she also said the same thing. She's like, it's a fantasy. They can do what go with it. I thought the most interesting thing about that was the fact that she said you don't wear corsetry. Like, why would you?
That was the thing.
An Empire line, you don't need to see the waist. It's an Empire line.
And that was the one thing about the costuming that pissed me off.
That pissed me off too, and she picked up on it. It's like it goes under the bus.
Not just that, but you wear a fucking undergarment under the corset.
Yes.
You don't wear the corset next to your skin, and so you don't get there was a bit where they're like, oh, I've got marks on my skin from the corset, because you're supposed to wear a chemise underneath the corset, and that was what they did. They never had corsets just on their skin. And that annoyed me more than anything, because I was like, I don't care about if they've got all this bright colors and glitter and embroidery that wouldn't have been there. But the fact that they
wouldn't have been wearing a corset in the first place, because the corset's supposed to show up a waist. An Empire line silhouette does not require a corset. Mrs. Featherington would needed a corset because of her 1940s silhouette, so she has a nipped-in waist. So that would have made sense. But no one's going to be able to tell.
That was something that Felicia and Tom mentioned, that you wouldn't, in that time period, you wouldn't be having a cinched waist. You'd have something that basically just lifted your boobs.
Yeah, boobs.
They had stays. They didn't have any boning apart from the busk down the middle.
Yeah, it was all about lifting the boobs, because that was their thing at that time period.
And that was the thing about the costumes, that they were beautiful, but I did just want to keep lowering. I was like, where they kept cutting.
Oh yes, they kept cutting off across the boobs. They kept
cutting through the middle of the boobs. I kept looking at poor Penelope going, oh my God, someone put it another, 10 centimeters further down, because it's just cutting her off and doing nothing for her.
The thing that annoyed me about that in particular is that would not have been a time period. I know that it's not in a time period, but it is at the same time. It's not a time period where people would have been like now trying to pretend that they didn't have big boobs. Big boobs were fine back then.
Not
round figures were good.
Time period when they would, and it was clearly spelled out in this universe as well, that they were getting custom made gowns. So there's not like she's buying something off the rack that was made for people with smaller boobs that doesn't fit her boobs.
Yeah. That's the other thing. As the season progressed, it felt like Daphne's neckline got slowly closer and closer to her knit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're going to have a slip there, lady? It just slowly got lower.
My only guess about Pen, because Pen's was the one that pissed me off the most, is that they wanted her to look frumpier and bigger than the actresses.
Yeah,
they
were aiming to make her look they were trying to make her look more uncomfortable.
I mean, you could maybe in universe explain it with that she was overlooked by her mother, and maybe they didn't pay as much attention to her dress, gave her the crappy.
Yeah. I mean, they put her in yellow. That poor girl.
I know, but I loved all of the dresses anyway. They just didn't.
I kind of liked them in yellow.
I liked the yellow.
Fucking yellow again. I don't want it to be yellow. And why do they always give me the fucking yellow dress?
Look, I get that. I got that side, but I liked it still. I
thought she looked really good in yellow. I just didn't.
I did too, but I
just didn't like the bust line on her. I was like going, oh my God, you've got a good pair of tits. Why are they doing this to you? But my only guess is it was a decision to make her look frumpier and bigger.
I agree.
Than the actresses.
I think that was a costuming thing that they did. And, oh my
but I just
God.
kept thinking, you've cut her off. But it's interesting. I don't know if it was you, Mel, or Kirsten, to say she's at the Modiste. She doesn't get to, maybe she's not, because they're not listening to her about what colours she likes. She gets getting yellow. So maybe that's a case of going, she doesn't even get to make decisions about where the line is of her silhouette. So maybe that was it. But it's still but it wasn't even that. It was others got cut off too. Well, she was just the worst.
I would have believed that maybe the mother was trying to bind her boobs down or something along those lines, if it wasn't for the fact that the mother had quite a good rack that she had on display herself.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
No. And the mother had she had probably some of my favourite outfits.
I did really enjoy her and the Queen.
audibly, I gasped out. I was like, oh, that is fabulous. It was like that 1940s, like big shoulder pads, and then the nipped in waist with the busted skirt. And then, but it was done in like this bright, I guess, brocade, I would say. And it was just like, so there was metallic and then some teal in there. And I was like, oh, I love that. Like, it was very red carpet. And that was my take on it. I was like, oh, I love that.
My only thing with her costuming, like I thoroughly enjoyed it, is I couldn't understand why they had her in such a different stylistic choice than everybody else. I got why the Queen was dressed the way she was, but I could not understand
because
why
she harks back to another time, and that makes sense,
exactly
right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was about her not really quite fitting in with the rest of the society, and they wanted her to stand out as being someone that everyone else kind of was like, look at her, she doesn't get.
I actually think it's because they wanted to make her look like a villain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's that Cruella de Vil look, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of is what they were going for. They wanted to make her stand out as not a character that you're supposed to relate to and enjoy. You're supposed to see her as being. You know who she's supposed to be? She's the stepmother from Cinderella.
Yeah. I did like at the end though. I thought the conversation between her and Marina at the end was this nice. Like, they went through a whole arc, which was actually really interesting, watching their relationship, where Marina was like, this is like, no, I see good, honest people and blah, blah, blah. And then coming to understand each other, and then Marina even playing into it and saying, okay, if I have to play this game, I want to play it on these terms. They're going, okay, I can work with that. And then at the end, when the husband's been killed, and that having that thing of going, how do you do it? Like, having that insight, like, I'm gonna, what is it? And that was just that was really nice. It was like this honest conversation with two people who were enemies and that have come to understand each other's world a little bit more. And I did like that, because I didn't really enjoy much about the Marina storyline at all, but that bit at the end, that conversation between Mrs. Featherington and Marina before Marina goes off with George's brother, I really liked it,
But see, that's one of the reasons why I question, so I didn't actually mind Marina's storyline. I thought it was an interesting storyline. It wasn't a fun storyline, but it was definitely an interesting storyline. But her relationship with Penn and Penn's reactions and ways of dealing with it is why I'm like, how the fuck is she Lady Whistledown? I'm seriously do not understand this.
Yeah.
Like,
but it was interesting with the husband and her going through everything, and the fact that she could go through everything and make sense of it, like all the books and stuff. Because my guess would have been, the books would be an absolute freaking mess, because he had debts all over the place. The fact she kind of worked everything out, I was like,
the thing that struck me about her as a woman was that she was actually quite smart.
That's the thing. Yeah, I was like, this is a woman who is smarter than her husband. But because she's a woman, she cannot, this is where she's stuck. But she's a woman who could probably run a business quite happily, or do XYZ quite well. She probably would be, they're in the ton, but in weird ways, she would have been more comfortable that next level down where, the Medusas and where it's like, we're served that, but where I'm removed enough that I have my liberty. I think she would have actually been much happier in that because she would have had freedom and liberty and been able to make a life for herself and whatever her family looked like at that point. The Marine storyline I got because it was a juxtaposition to the Daphne, like, this is what happens if you if you're not careful.
That was the point of it. It was like to kind of up the stakes of what happens if Daphne gets caught, kind of thing.
Yeah. I look forward to season 2. Although it's Anthony, and I really don't care about him.
Season 2 and those.
I want Benedict. Did you say you want Benedict?
I don't care who I get as long as it's not Anthony.
In the announcement, it specifically mentions that Anthony will be the lead.
I know. Yeah. Well, maybe they'll turn it around, because at the moment I really don't care about him and his happiness. I was just like, you go, girl. You kick him to the curb.
If I'm going to be watching for anybody, it'll probably be for like those other characters that I'm interested. So Eloise and Penn and
Yeah, I want to.
And Lady Danbury.
Well, I'm going to guess that we probably won't see her because her main reason for being there is Simon.
Simon, yeah.
Yeah, but I think we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully she'll be coming back in some kind of. Yeah, that was the other thing, and I know that probably was true of the day, but I wish that they had that Simon and Lady Danbury had pet names for one another because she basically brought them up.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that he would have had a pet name for her, you know, something, you know, like she's not his aunt or anything, but something you know, because in a lot of cultures, you know, you call anybody who's close to your family, you know, auntie and uncle and that kind of thing. And I certainly had a bit of that, but I thought a pet name would have been nice between them. And no, because she kept calling her his, you know, Your Grace, which I think was her way of kind of going, you're in this role now, suck it up. But at the same time, I was kind of surprised she never just called him Simon, because that's what I would have thought she would do. Because she's like, well, I've known you since you were knee-high to, you know, a grasshopper, and you lived with me. So,
especially considering how quickly Simon and Daphne discarded titles and went straight for person.
Right, and I was kind of like, this is a person who's basically been your guardian. You've been her ward, so you know, I'm a bit.
She's literally the person you're closest to.
Exactly, right. So I was a little bit like, how come you guys don't have pet names for one another? Because I'm sure, you know. Oh, and also I wanted to bring this up before we go off. So did everyone enjoy Cormac from Harry Potter?
Sorry, what?
So the prince is played by the actor who plays Cormac.
Cormac.
And I was like, oh my God, it's Cormac.
Yep.
No idea, didn't realize at all.
Yeah.
Well, you see, I'll tell you the secret. England is real small, and their pool of actors is even smaller. So it's likely if you're watching a show from England that there will be at least one actor that you have seen in something else.
Of course. I was like going, oh good, we've got a Harry Potter actor in here.
I was actually, because I went and looked up a whole heap of the actors and actresses, because I reckon like a lot of them looked I thought they looked familiar to me, and I was shocked at how few of them I actually knew from anything. Yeah. I was sort of like,
See,
what?
It wasn't just me. Matt,
No, you were like, this is this person.
I know that person from somewhere. And then I'm looking it up on IMDb, and he's like,
nope.
No, I'm like,
You've never seen anything they've been in before.
And he's like, you do this all the time. You're like, I definitely know that person, and then they're not in anything. And I'm like,
yep.
The only one I definitely had seen and stuff was Ruth Gemmell, who plays Violet, you know, the dowager. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen her in things, and I thought Polly Walker, who plays Mrs. Featherington, I was like, I've definitely seen her and stuff, but yeah, I was like, no, I've never seen Rome. I've never seen, you know, the other. I was like, why does she look so familiar?
They look so. I felt the same with Eloise. Actually, I was like, they look super familiar. I don't know what I know her from. She must just look like someone like her. Yes, there's so much about her manners, all these sorts of things. And I was like, she seems like someone else. Couldn't find a thing that I know her from. So I think she must just look like someone else.
Felicia and Tom have like American actor versions of every single character. They're like, yeah, that actress reminds me of this actress. So Eloise reminds them of Zooey Deschanel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can kind of see it. Yeah.
But she does sitcom acting.
Yeah,
like, she's very
I thought Claudia Jesse's voice is very iconic. Like she's got a I know now. If I heard that voice, I'd just be, you know, I'll be like, because she also had a voice that's definitely not a voice of a 17-year-old up against like that. The actress who was like the character, the actress who played Daphne. I was like, who was the other one? Oh, and I did recognize the husband, you know, the gambler. I recognized him. He's actually a comic, and I did recognize him. Yeah.
Wasn't he in
He used to do the Stephen Fry thing, I think, you know, like
yeah, but that's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the show that had God damn it. It was a little romance show, and it was written by James, what's his face, who's in America now doing daytime late night TV.
James Corden?
James Corden.
Yeah, James Corden. James Corden and another chick wrote the show in Britain, and it's a little romance. story.
Oh,
Not coupling.
no.
Gavin
I
and
know.
Stacey. That's it. Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah.
Don't think I ever saw that.
I never saw it. It was a bit past my time.
So Eloise, I saw her on Doctor Who.
Oh.
Yeah, I wondered
Been
about
on both
that.
Doctor Who and Call the Midwife.
Call the Midwife. That would be what it is.
That might be it for me. Depends when it was, though.
I watched all of Call the Midwife.
Yeah. But
had
I
this
think
discussion
the
already.
actress who plays Eloise, I found her captivating. So,
Yeah.
But
She was enjoyable.
yeah, she was definitely enjoyable. I loved the voice. So I
She
look
was
forward to
just
that.
so-
But sorry.
I was just going to say, she was a good mix of the actress and the character herself, being very personable and but not perfect, and someone you were interested in. Whereas Daphne, I was just bored with after 2 episodes.
Yeah, that was my only, I think Elizabeth asked, did you feel all the vibes and stuff? And I'm going, I get why the Duke's exciting. I don't really get, she hasn't lived. That was the bit that I was a little bit like, okay, she's funny, but is she really? In a weird way, I think that Eloise, a couple of years older, and if Simon stayed the same age, they would be a better match. It'd just be like, okay, you're interested in this and you've got pursuits. And
I think that she would have been a better match for Simon, but I don't think Simon was a better match for her.
I think the thing with Simon was he was finally got to know a woman instead of just being you're just going to be someone I'm going to have sex with because I'm horny, but I'm not going to be interested in you. So I'm not going to find anything out about you because
100%.
I'm not interested in commitment. Whereas with this situation, it was forced to get to know her and realize that he actually really likes just hanging around with her.
And I think that it probably worked for him too, because he needed someone who was just sort of soft and family and all of that sort of stuff, so that he could have that side of things.
Can I ask a question about the era? And I know we're talking to fantasy, but with the widows, would it be not something that, when did it become acceptable to remarry?
So
because I look at I think I get why Mrs. Bridgerton didn't get married, because it was a love match, and I think she was just still mourning. But Mrs. Featherington, I'm like, what's stopping her finding someone else?
So
Mrs.
Featherington probably will pursue that. She will have to find someone who is in an appropriate age and situation and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What's to stop you finding a partner who might have also been a widow?
Most wouldn't if they were supplied with a means, i.e. Lady Bridgerton and also that other lady who was hosting the party who had a son. Obviously, their estates had been were set up in a way where they were provided for. So that lady obviously still had control of her estate, whereas with Lady Bridgerton, her son had inherited this estate. She still had children to raise, and so she was being provided for. However, Lady Featherington is an entirely different circumstance, because she's now in a situation where she doesn't have money, but she still has children to raise and to get married off and things like that, which I'm going to actually find very interesting. In that's one of the things I'm curious as to what they do in the next season, because we know that down the track, shutting up. Anyway.
I was going to say, this is
what we know
in Pride and Prejudice. This is why Mrs. Bennet is such a psycho for getting all the daughters married off, because there's an entailment on the inheritance. And so when the dad dies, the money doesn't go to his widow. The money goes to the nearest male heir, and the widow gets
what's his face, yeah.
And
that's the other thing I did think.
The widow, the mother is basically relying on one of her daughters to marry someone rich enough that's going to be able to take care of her, because otherwise she's screwed when her husband dies. And a lot of those women, if they would have no other option other than to remarry, because that's the only way that they could be supported.
Yeah, I do think it was a bit surprising at the end, when Mrs. Featherington gets the note about who has inherited inherited everything. I was like, no, you would know that. If Pride and Prejudice taught me anything, it is that a woman knows that. If you've only got daughters, you know
You know
exactly who you have
Exactly.
to get into bed with and get into their pocket, because you need to be in their good graces. Because that is
Like
a
Mr.
whole
Collins
freaking
would be taking
subplot of
Pride
Pride and Prejudice is about her trying to marry one of the daughters off to this cousin who's going to get everything, right? So I was sitting there thinking,
yeah. And it's part of
that's
Sense and
inaccurate.
Sensibility
She would
as
know
well.
that.
It's part of
Maybe
Sense and
because
Sensibility as well. And
such a dick.
Yeah.
Maybe he had never told her that, and I don't know.
He didn't tell her anything else.
She was obviously not afraid to ask questions, so why the hell had she not asked the question?
She was a formidable woman, so I kind of don't quite know why she didn't just throw her weight around a bit more, because he crumbled like a frickin' cookie the moment it kind of, she confronted him like, Jesus, you should have done this years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like that side of the story wasn't fleshed out, which is one of the reasons why I strongly suspect it's not actually in the book and it's something they've fleshed out or brought forward or done something else, and so it hasn't quite been completely properly done for some reason.
There's absolutely no because there's absolutely no validity that you wouldn't know who was going to get the estate that you are living off if you haven't produced a male heir. She would know
unless she thought it was someone else and it turned out to be, and she got the note and it was someone else.
That is a fair point, because her husband lied to her about everything else. So maybe, that is a point.
So that's a possibility. But the way it was played out was more along the lines of she just didn't know.
And I just find that a little hard to believe. Yeah. But I think a case of no, he lied, and it's this, or possibly he said no, it's all in hand. I've made arrangements, but never did because he's a liar. That could also be the thing.
He'd spent all the money.
Yeah. So that was also a possibility, and that may come out where, the writers kind of realize, actually we need to make sure it's understood why she wouldn't have known that, or why she thought it was someone different. Yeah. So they may write that back in.
Yeah, they may. But I actually was kind of surprised that happened. I really didn't actually expect him to die.
Me neither, because he got murdered, and but I think it makes for an interesting season. I think it's going to be really.
Oh yeah, I don't know against the plot point.
As soon as he won the because he won all that money off those bookies, I was like, those guys are not just like, and he got home and he's got all this money, and I'm like, those dudes wouldn't have just paid you off. You're like that. I mean, I didn't actually know whether they would kill him, but I thought they were going to come and beat the shit out of him and steal the money back, because I'm like, they were looking at each other like, this is dodgy. He's, you could tell that they knew that he, cheated basically. And I was like, these are not the types of people that just let you cheat them without any consequences.
Yeah. I was worried, and it didn't seem to play out. I thought they might come for the boxer and his family.
I was worried about
that.
That was the other thing I was worried about, and that's why I was like, when they went after him instead, I was like, I was really relieved. And actually,
but I thought they might go after the boxer as well, because of course a certain proportion of the winnings went to him, and they're looking to get the cash
he threw
back.
it, right, which would have thrown off their.
I said to Matt, like when they discovered about him being killed off, I was like, oh God, I hope they don't go after the other guy now. And because I was like, I really liked him, and I really liked his wife.
I like his family, and I like everything going on there, and don't take the only happy family in this thing.
And it's bullshit all the time, and it was like, I really liked his character, and I was worried for him. I was like, oh God. I could understand why he did it, but I was also like, don't do it. It's going to end badly for you.
Yeah. You're in a story. Don't you know you're in a story?
Yeah. Anyway, we should probably finish the recording for now. We can continue bitching, but I don't know that this is going to be very interesting for anyone involved.
If anyone stuck with us this long, they did very well anyway.
Yeah.
If anyone is
Bridgerton writers are watching,
please join us. Please contact us via Facebook. We will join you. We will add you to our Slack. Please join us, because if you lasted this long, you definitely belong with us.
Now I'm going to have to watch the comments.
We were just about to leave Facebook and she pulls us back in.
Please leave a comment on this video if you'd like to join us. You can get our Slack information.
Just be prepared that we meet based on Australian hours.
That's true. Anyway, have a good night, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. And our next meetup, I think we are doing...
Next meetup, we are reading The House of... no, we are reading The Plagiarist for next week by Hugh
I
Howey.
haven't read that. Oh, man.
Oh,
It's
God, I
only
haven't
50
done it yet.
pages long. It's super short.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm going to be in the Blue Mountains. Anyway, no one needs to know this stuff. We'll talk
Anyway,
about it after.
good night, anybody watching. Bye.
Good night.